Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. Talking about lawsuits again, all right? According to TMZ, Camron is suing J. Cole, and it all stems from their collaboration, Ready 24. If you remember, that was a track off of J. Cole's Might Delete Later from last year, where he samples Diplomat's I'm Ready, and Cam has the last verse on the record. Also, unrelated, but important to note when we're just talking about Cam and J. Cole's relationship in terms of collaborations, Cam appeared on 95 South too. 95 South from the off-season project in 2021, where he kind of did the ad-libs on the intro. So they've collaborated in the past before, but I'm Ready is what this suit is about. I'm gonna read the TMZ article and we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give y'all my opinion on it. I could already see the comments now of folks comparing this to Drake, the UMG lawsuit. So we're going to talk about that too a little bit. But before I read the article, I need y'all to subscribe. All right. I need y'all to like. I need y'all to comment. I need y'all to share. If y'all have hype points and you love this one, use some hype points. But I'm gonna need all of that, man. Y'all say y'all love the content. I feel the support, man. I really read y'all comments and y'all be so sincere. I'm so sincere with y'all, but I need the support. So please like, subscribe. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. But I'm gonna get into it right now. So let me just pull up this TMZ right here. Headline: Camron sues J. Cole over Ready 24. Rappers are taking their beefs from the studio to the courtroom these days. Camron just sued J. Cole over their song Ready 24. In court docs obtained by TMZ, Camron claims he wrote lyrics and dropped the verse on the song in exchange for Cole agreeing to collaborate with him on a future project, or at least appear on Cam's popular It Is What It Is podcast. Cam alleges that 2 years after the recording, J. Cole neglected to do either. Also, when it says that Cam claims he wrote lyrics and dropped the verse, this Cam has a verse on the song. So what I'm assuming, before anybody runs with it, Cam wrote his own lyrics for his own verse. Cole wrote his own lyrics for his own verse. That's what I believe is being alleged here. I don't believe it to be anything else. Cam says Ready 24 was recorded back in 2022, and from July 2023 till April 2024, Cam says he continued to communicate with Cole, who repeatedly stated that he was unavailable for the podcast. Cam also says the subsequent musical collaboration between them never materialized, despite efforts by Cam to put it together. Cam says he hasn't been properly compensated and wants a judge to declare him co-author of Ready 24 and to order a full accounting of any money earned by the song so he can get his share, which he estimates to be in excess of $500K. We reached out to J. Cole's rep for comment. So far, no word back. And I did too. I reached out to somebody from the camp. I didn't hear word back from them. I didn't really expect to, though. So, okay, so first we have to ask, right? What was the nature of this agreement? What was it, a written agreement? What, a contract? Was it via text? Was it verbal? Was it like a handshake type thing? No matter what, I believe you have to honor your agreement. And the court may have a certain definition and a certain criteria. Like sometimes emails can hold up in court. So that stuff, I'm not saying that it isn't valid. But to know the form of the agreement, how they came to this agreement, I think is important here. But I believe as a man, you have to honor your agreements. You have to honor your commitments. But I think we need to know the nature of the agreement. Was it crystal clear? Was there any room for interpretation? Was there a contractual or agreed upon time where all these things had to happen, or was it left open-ended? Sometimes, especially in the biz, if it's done on a handshake or if it's done very casually, a lot of the finer points and the details are left open-ended. And if you get a lawyer involved, they'll kind of cross the T's and dot the I's for you. Also, what leads me, and I don't know for sure, and I'm truly asking the question, but what kind of leads me to question that is, so Cam does the verse, Cam agreeing to collaborate with him on a future project, or at least appear on Cam's popular It Is What It Is podcast. Which one is it? That, hey, if we do a verse for a verse, that's called a swap. That's pretty common in the music industry. But it seems like it was open-ended on how Cole was going to pay him back. It was like a verse or appear on my podcast. And you could actually write that into a contract. I guess you could write anything into a contract, as long as both parties agree to it. But typically, what are we trading for? What is this verse for? What is this appearance for? Typically, it's more spelled out, and this looks like it was less defined on what the return was going to be for Cam for doing this. Doesn't mean that it was understood, that it was like that it wasn't understood, but it seems less defined. So that's why I asked about, well, what is the paperwork? But again, or what was the form of the agreement? But again, I do believe if you agree to do something, you got to honor your agreement one way or another. So when it comes to Cole doing the interview, right? Let's just start there. According to this article, Cam says that Cole repeatedly stated that he wasn't able to do the interview, which means that there was some conversation. There was some back and forth between the two. So right? If you know Cole, you know he isn't into doing a bunch of media anyway, right? And then B, I'm assuming that the agreement, which, I mean, it alludes to it there, but predates the big beef. They recorded this song in 2022. It didn't come out to 2024, right? Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, Cam says it was recorded back in 2022. So it precedes First Person Shooter. It precedes really Like That, and then 7 Minute Drill. And then when Cole exits the whole beef, sees himself out, exit stage left, said, I don't want no part of this, right? Cole's whole world changed after Like That and 7 Minute Drill. His whole circumstance, how he has to move, or maybe that he has to move more strategically since then. Like, it's just changed after the battle changed everything. So any media appearance he would have likely made after that, like, would have had to ask about that, right? And he probably isn't ready to talk about it, or just doesn't want to talk about it publicly. So, from a it is what it is appearance, how much sense does it make? Because Cole could tell Cam, hey, I'll go to the pod, but I don't want to talk about the beef, and I don't want to talk about what happened. And let's just say Cam agrees to that. All right, cool. I just want to have this conversation with you. I don't care. Just come on. Even if Cam agrees to that, all the fans are going to talk shit. All of y'all are going to be disappointed. Like, oh man, he done did this appearance and they ain't even talk about the shit that everybody wants to know about. So it's kind of a lose-lose. You know what I'm saying? And that's if Cam would have agreed to that. This is all hypothetical at this point. Me personally, there's no way we could sit there. I could sit there with somebody like J. Cole and not ask about the beef. It's what everybody wants to know. You owe it to the audience. But that's all hypothetical. But whatever it is, I think one thing we can all agree on is a Cole podcast appearance post-battle is very tricky. Now, according to Cam's timeline, and I don't know, they did the record in 2022, and from July 2023 to April 2024, Cam said he continued to communicate with Cole, who repeatedly stated he was unavailable for the podcast. So there's a world where Cole could have did the podcast before the beef. Like, if you would have completed that obligation, fulfilled that agreement before the beef, then it isn't as tricky, right? So there seemed to be a period before Like That. Let's just say when Like That started is when shit started to heat up. So it seems like there was a time, because Like That came out in 2024. So if he's talking from July 2023 to April 2024, it just seems like there was a time to either hand the verse in or do the podcast appearance prior to Like That, when it wasn't so tricky. This is just according to the information that we have. But right now, post battle, the interview doesn't make sense, right? So the next thing is doing a feature for Cam. Again, it's called a swap. Happens all the time. The article says that Cam made efforts to put it together. What was the song that Cam sent? What if the song just wasn't up to par? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if it was just like, and again, this is all hypothetical, right? But I got to know the whole story. What if it was like, remember when Kanye did Scoopity Poop Poop Poopity Scoop? You know what I'm saying? What if it was that? And Cole is like, what the fuck? I can't rhyme on this. Or what if the song was a beef record? What if the song is Cam going at Jim on some beef shit, And then he says that to Cole. Okay, you go. You air it out too. Like whoever you got beef with. And Cole's like, hey, that's not where my energy is. Now I'm not making excuses for Cole, right? I'm just saying I don't have all the information. Like why wouldn't Cole do the feature? You know what I'm saying? Again, because if you made an agreement with somebody, you got to find a way to make it right. And then also just from a reputation standpoint, Cole seems like a pretty fair business guy. I've never technically done business with him. You know, I've interviewed him here and there. Like I've never done business with him, so I can't say. But he seems like a pretty fair business guy, right? You never really hear about Cole and shady business. Ari Lennox wasn't necessarily the business, it was the promotion. Ari Lennox had some things to say for sure. So I don't want to never say never. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it wasn't really business. I think it was about Dreamville as an organization and her just not feeling supported in that way there. I don't know if she said anything about Cole personally, but his organization, right? But regardless, Ari Lennox aside, outside of that, I think the perception of Cole is what I'm talking about, is that he's a pretty fair guy when it comes to business. You generally do not hear about that about Cole. So I can't see a scenario where he wouldn't have wanted to figure this out. But again, I don't know. From Cam's perspective, at least from the bit of information that we have, Cam is saying, I made the attempts to reach out. Now I'm suing. Now, again, if Cam's perspective is like, yo, I tried to get you on the pod. You said it wasn't enough time. I made an effort to send you a song. I didn't get the song back. We didn't do the swap. Now I'm suing. I wish it didn't come to this. To me, it just looks whack. But if you're Cam and you exhausted and you feel that you've exhausted all the efforts, then you got to do what you got to do, right? But also it's important to know that someone leaked this to TMZ, so somebody wanted a headline out of this. So who leaked this to TMZ? I don't know. Either it was from Cam's side, maybe it was just somebody from the courts saw this come across the desk. Could have been somebody from the courts filing it and came across the desk and said, oh shit, this would be good for TMZ. And I don't know how TMZ got the information, but somebody leaked this, so now it's public. Just last month, Dame Dash made headlines saying that he was gonna sue Cam for some like erroneous things that Cam said about Dame on his podcast. Eventually, Dame backed off of that. I didn't make a video on that, but we were looking at Dame like, yo, this shit, it's whack. Like, why is it coming to this? That whole thing was kind of weird too. I guess finally, because I'm saying a lot, right? And I'm kind of giving the hypotheticals. I'm kind of giving you the both sides. My synopsis about this whole thing is the main points is that I wish it hadn't come to this. But if Cole and Cam made an agreement in any fashion, one, what was the agreement? Hoping that the agreement was clear, that it was clear to both parties. I'm giving you this and I'm expecting this. And if that's clear, Cole has to find a way to make good on the agreement, on whichever form it came in. Again, this is just as a man. If it's a contract, legally there's an obligation there. But if I looked you in the eyes and I shook your hand, or we talked, or we agreed on something, it's like, damn, I gotta fulfill my end of the bargain. Cam did his verse, so they got to figure this out. Sucks that it has to come to a lawsuit, but they somehow got to figure this out. But I also think that there's more to the story that we don't know. There's parts of it that is not making sense to me. I don't have the whole thing put together. And then Cam says at the end, which is interesting, Cam is saying he wants full accounting of the money earned by the song so he can get his share, which he estimates to be in excess of $500K. So that means Cam did the verse for free. Because sometimes it'd be like, yo, I'll do a verse, but I still want my publishing. And that happens a lot. That's common. Like, yeah, I'll do this verse, but I still got to get publishing on this. And then when you give me the swap, you'll get publishing on it. A lot of times in the swap, artists have publishing. Like, I wrote a percentage of this record, so I want a percentage of the publishing, you know what I'm saying, of the record. And that's pretty common. And then artists also have an appearance fee. So usually it's like, yo, it costs, yo, I need 100,000 for the verse cash, and I want my publishing. Now, if you're swapping, and everybody is different, but if you're swapping, artists may forego their artist fee. Hey, don't worry about the 100K. I'm not going to charge you 100K. You're just going to do a verse for me. It's a swap. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times, and I guess it isn't uncommon, but I would expect the publishing to stay intact. Like, hey, I still want the publishing on this record. I still wrote on this record. So you don't have to pay me out your pocket, but we profit share on the publishing end. When the royalties come in from the publishing, we'll profit share on that. But I don't want you to take money out your pocket to pay me. But it seems like Cam, at least the way this is worded, that Cam didn't get anything because he's asking for full accounting of the money earned by the song so he can get his share, which he feels he's owed, which is estimates to be in excess of $500,000. So I have more questions than I have answers for this, but I also got to see if I can get my hand on the paperwork to read the paperwork. But I wish they could have just worked this out behind the scenes. I feel like there's an easier way to do this, but now it's out here and we're talking about it. Now, for the folks who want to compare this to Drake versus UMG lawsuit, because I've seen that discourse on social media already. I could just see the comments now. To me, these are two different things. This suit is over an agreement that two specific artists made with each other. Cam did his verse, and if there is something that he is owed for that verse, it has to get resolved. You got to give me what I owe. I gave you. I fulfilled my end of the bargain. We're assuming, right? And now it has to get resolved. You know what I'm saying? Drake versus UMG is different. As I've said before, Drake versus UMG to me was a bad look because it came after Drake lost the battle against Kendrick. And though the suit wasn't directed at Kendrick, though Kendrick wasn't the defendant in this case, like the suit it was against UMG, it wasn't Kendrick. It put his song Not Like Us, and it put his lyrics and his art square in the middle of that suit. The suit was based on his lyrics, his art, his video, just his artistic vision in a battle. So Kendrick's artistic vision was put square in the middle of that suit. And that suit, depending on how it went and how it was decided, we knew the judge for now has dismissed it. Drake said he will appeal the suit. We'll see if that actually happens. But the outcome of that suit has ramifications on how rap battles can play out in the future amongst artists. That's why I didn't like the suit. You know what I'm saying? It came after rap battle. It just wasn't. It's not the same. First of all, they are not suing for the same thing. They are not suing for the same thing. These are apples and oranges. These are two different things. I think the comparison, if anybody wants to make the comparison here, is silly and baseless. It's just not the same. But those are just my thoughts. That's what I feel. Let me know what you think. Hit me in the comments and we'll talk about it. I hit y'all back in the comments. I talk with y'all, man. We're going to have a good conversation. As long as we keep it respectful, it's all love. All right? Till next time. Peace.